everyone, this is Kelly and I am here just to do a quick unboxing and comparison of the Victorian Romantic Tarot. Now I have a full walkthrough of this deck which I will link to below, so I'm not going to do a full-on walkthrough as my normal kind of walkthroughs because I already done that, so I'm going to put that link below. But I did want to kind of compare these. I was sent the beautiful, I don't know, it's probably been maybe 2 years or so. I should try to find that out, but I'm bad about dates. I just kind of guesstimate, oh, it seems like it's been this amount of time. This was the Russian, it is the Russian version, it's the first edition Russian version. So it's not a change in edition, but the first one came out in 2006, and then they released it with this Russian in 2010. And it has an amazing cardstock. As you will see, I'm not going to shuffle this because it's all put back in order, but it's just got the most amazing cardstock ever. And I've seen a lot of cardstock, but for a riffle shuffler, there's nothing like this. This is what it originally looked like on the back. This is the extra Emperor. And then, much to many people's horror, I trimmed this down and put in gold. It doesn't have it on the Fool, but I put indications in gold of what the cards were. And I still love, I love this deck, but I didn't often use it with clients just because I do like to have titles for clients to be able to reference back to. And I always said if it ever came out again in English, because English was out of print at the time, that if it ever came out again in English, I would buy it. And so as you probably know, if you're anything to do with tarot, tarot world, you probably know that it came out again with the beautiful gilding that we saw with Tarot of Prague. It's a very special kind of gilding. I don't know if it's going to talk about this here. Let's just see. This is for returns. No, this is just the invoice. Metallic overlay. So it's not really called gilding. It's called a metallic overlay. And this is the most expensive deck I have ever purchased. This is a beautiful Dreaming of the Firebird, basically a Baba Studio, kind of art card that they would put in. And then it is very well wrapped in bubble wrap. I'm going to carefully open it. I went back and forth, to be honest, about whether I was going to get this or not, because I do have a version that's really beautiful, but I really love this deck. So I decided, after watching my friend Annika, aka Quilfin, on YouTube, after watching her, talking to her about it, and then seeing Nobody's Here on YouTube, her video convinced me. Various people ended up convincing me that, it's just gorgeous, and why not? We live once. So, this is the box. It's one of their newer clamshells. I have their beautiful, my baby, the Victorian, the Victorian Gothic. No, Bohemian Gothic. See, I'm getting all confused. This is a similar box to that, as well as to the Tarot of Prague. Has this beautiful clamshell box with, the gold, of course, gilding on it, because this is the lavishly illustrated cards of the Victorian era with metallic cold stamping. It does note that this is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith standard tarot system, which is definitely the case, although there's some interesting, to me, diversions. So it does come with, there is a guidebook that you can get, but it also does come with a just a basic little white book with some keywords in it, so that's nice to have. Again, it's standard Rider-Waite Smith, so you shouldn't have too much problem, although I will say this is one that you probably do want the guidebook for, because there is a lot more information in the guidebook about the art pieces chosen and things. Again, I've done a full walkthrough, including the guidebook below, so I'm not going to get into all that today. But I do think it's worth the money. That's my point. Oh, look at those backs. It's just nothing like seeing it in person on it your own self, is there? I'm going to see how to carefully... I'm being very careful. Nobody panic. Nobody panic. Okay. So here is the backing. Let me just grab one. Oh, it feels, the cardstock feels amazing. It's not this, but it feels amazing. So size-wise, let's go this way. It's a hair, and I do mean a hair bigger than this Russian edition. This is gorgeous backing, period. It's gorgeous trimmed, it's gorgeous this way, but this is also quite beautiful and nothing to sniff at. Look at that yet. So just a slightly larger, and it does feel really flexible, but it doesn't have, this has almost, I don't know how to describe this again. There is almost like it, I think this is some kind of a special core inside of it, so that you can literally, when you riffle shuffle this, when you've got two pieces of it, it bends amazingly, and it always kind of comes back into, this has been shuffled quite a lot, it always comes back into straight form. So it's amazing. So let's take here's the gorgeous kind of art card, Victorian Romantic, designed by Karen Mahoney, illustrated by Alex Ukulov. Baba Studios, you know, basic your art card there. And then we get into the cards themselves. So let me zoom in, and I'll just kind of, they should be pretty much the same, but maybe you can pick up on the gilding versus the flat or the plain images here. One second. Okay, so I had to rearrange them because I like them in a specific order. So here we have the Fool card. I was really concerned that the gilding would flatten the images out and kind of change the dynamic nature of the images. And turn the phone off for a minute. At least so far, so good. Because, you know, no matter what, when you cover an area, right, with, you know, cold press, hot, whatever kind of gilding, it's going to take some of, if you look at, say, these two heads here, I think those are heads, I don't know. When you take those two, you know, you can see when something's painted, you have shadows and various colors and things of that nature. Of course, when you put gilding on that, you lose that sort of dynamic quality of a paint. You can see you're going to lose the detail here of the sun with that gilding there. So is it going to be, is it there? Yes. So far in this image, again, if you look really closely, if you compare this neck piece to this, you lose the painting detail, right, for the sake of the gilding. But overall, when you look at the picture, for this picture anyways, I don't see that having ruined anything. I quite love the detail of the gilding on the tambourine as well. So it seems to be judiciously used. I don't know. So can you see that? I've got a window opened so that I'm hoping you can pick up on. There are many places in which it is that some is subtle and some is less subtle. But when you look back at if I just look at the image, this feels brighter, it's slightly less dark, which is, I do quite like that actually. And overall, the feeling of the image doesn't change for me because of that, at least on this Fool card. This is amazing. So the Magician, you can see the gilding on the lantern. This right here is amazing use of the gilding. It just brightens that up. You don't really lose any detail. You do lose some detail again in the lamp, because in the painting you're going to see all kinds of details, whereas that's going to cover it, but it looks fantastic, you know, when you hold it, and he actually looks lit up. I believe they have also brightened. So far I can say that the coloration has been brightened, all in all. Not just where the gilding is, but if you look in the shadows, it's a lighter than this. Now there is something rich and gorgeous about this, right, about the darkness, but in terms of reading something and kind of seeing it clearly, I do actually like that. That wasn't something I was expecting, even though, again, absolutely stunning. And look at the skeleton, so you can kind of see the shadows. See how it's all been lightened up? So some people might like that, some people might not. You can see it in even his robe. So you lose some of the details of the robe. But when you're just looking at it, it's still quite lovely, and I absolutely love. And you can see it down here on the pentacle, the back of his chair. So it's quite a few places. The edges of the book. Again, I'm not going to do this for everyone. Don't freak out. So again, absolutely beautiful. You can see that it has been lightened, or at least in person, you can very clearly see that it's been lightened up. There is again something absolutely stunning about this richness. The richness even of the cauldron is so gorgeous in the original. I love the difference with the dress, because there's not a lot of detail. You lose some of the folds, but even her hair, I actually like her hair being darker. But then look at the smoke. See all this, all the detail. I know I'm making a case for both. Again, this is stunning. That's why this is the original. There's no question that it's a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. But when you just kind of hold it aside, it looks really amazing. They both look amazing in their own right. This has just got a brightness factor, and of course, then you have the beautiful gilding there. Now you can really, to me, right away see the difference in this card here with the Empress. Again, lighter, but look at the detail in the fabric of the dress and the kind of blanket here. And you lose something to having that gilding there. I will say that depending on the angle that you put it at, you can still see quite a lot of detail. Like if you've got it on full shine, it obviously kind of flattens it out. But when you're looking at it just normally, you can still see the folds and these kinds of things. So it's deceiving to say, okay, look at that shine on there, you can't see any detail. This is much more, at least in the viewfinder, that's like flattened it out. This is much more how you see it without kind of having it catch the light on purpose. And so it's really beautiful. I love them both. I love the richness of this, but I also like the lightness here. I think that that's going to be really bright in terms of a reading, perhaps less dark. And of course some of it also is having to light the border as well. I guess you don't have a choice with the Emperor. I actually much prefer this Emperor. I think that this was a choice with the Russian. No, maybe that is. No, this was the other. This was the other Emperor, I believe. Maybe this was the other Hierophant. I don't know. I much prefer this Emperor. That's kind of disappointing to me, because I just feel like he's just kind of sitting there in his chair. Like, that looks like an Emperor to me. So that's disappointing, to be honest. But, you know, it's not that I can't work with it. But this, I love this Emperor. He looks like an Emperor. He does not. He's just sitting in a chair, you know, kind of, you know, taking some advice, perhaps, taking counsel, which is a good thing. I mean, there's things that I can certainly do with that, but I just love this traditional Emperor. So there we have that. It is what it is. This is again the same, just brighter. You can just see everything's lightened up a little bit. I love the glasses. Again, I love the gilding on the books. But when you put them just where you can see them, as you would normally look at something, you really do still see a lot of the folds and the accents. It's just when you're going to catch it into full light that it can have that effect of flattening it out. But it's beautiful. I'm actually really thrilled with the way that the gild. I was really worried about it. Because that's some of the gorgeousness. I mean, look at her, you know, look at this part of her sleeve. It's absolutely stunning. So, I mean, that's part of what makes this deck so gorgeous. And so I was concerned that when you put the gilding onto it, that it would flatten out as we see when it's full light. But see, then when we put it more regular, it's just beautiful. It's muted. It's not, you know, even I have a lot of lights on. It's not, I can definitely use this in a reading, whereas things that are really gilded, like with shiny gilding, I have an extremely hard time using, because it bounces back in and blinds me, and B, it washes things out in the camera. It doesn't look good in the camera. So I love this Lovers card. Or Lovers. Oh, that's right. This True Lovers card. Oh, I do love this one, though. Look at that. Oh, no. I love the sun, gilded sun with Cupid. I think I'm going to have to go with this one for the moment, at least, because I always like there to be three things. It's the higher consciousness, the conscious self, and the subconscious self. I really like, even though I love this card. I'm going to have to go with this one for right now. I love this Hierophant. Can we just say how much I love that Hierophant? Okay. Going back to, yeah, I'm going to have to keep this one in. Look, and this has got kind of gilding everywhere. It's hard to show. But again, when you angle it just how you're viewing, it's stunning. I don't have one to, that is a stunning card. There's just nothing else you can say other than that is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay. So here's my birth card, which is the Chariot. And I'm not going to... I'm not going to keep saying the same thing. I know I annoy people by doing that. So, but you can see here, even in the painting that's not gilded, some of the layering here has changed. You don't quite see the same details in the clouds as you do here. So there's definitely some changes, subtle changes, besides just the gilding. But again, it's gorgeous. I mean, when you just look at this, straight ahead, it's just beautiful. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to quickly kind of compare the gilding with the majors, and then I'll go a little bit quicker. This is beautiful. I do kind of like the darkness here because you have that sense of, you know, Daniel and the Lion's Den, except for it's not Daniel. You kind of feel like they're down in something, where this lighter aspect takes a little bit of that away, but it's stunning. I mean, it's stunning. If you can see, there you go. Maybe you can see where the, here we have the Hermit, which I love. I actually really like, funnily enough, I actually like his robe better, even though this dark robe is gorgeous as well. This, it's not just, look at the hourglass, even the head of the scythe. I don't know if you can tell. It's so hard to capture these things. The hourglass is amazing. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. Again, details, you know, in the mane. Even though the mane wasn't actually changed, you can see a little bit because of the dark or the lightning. You lose some of the detail, and I think of the most loss of detail in this beautiful brocade cloth that he's kind of going to present, right? So stunning. You really lose it here. This is the first one I would say that's really kind of too bad, because that's so gorgeous. So I think you lose the most so far, or the ones that for me impacts the overall image the most would be this one. So that one, yeah, for me that loses a stunningness. A stunningness. This is gorgeous. So gorgeous. I actually really like the lightening factor, the lightening of the card in this one. Yeah, there's not really anything I don't love about this. And again, obviously you lose some detail in her hair, but when you're just looking at these like face to face, I love them both, but this is gorgeous. Oh, they changed the Hanged Man. Interesting. It's a hanged woman. I quite like that. I quite like that, to be honest. That's beautiful. And she's kind of, she's doing it on her own agency. I don't know that I like that it's a spectacle, because I don't think that the energy of the Hanged Man is really a spectacle for others. It's a perception change for yourself. So the idea of this being much more of a spectacle is less how, not that I can't use the card, but it's just less of, it tampers down or tamps down a little bit to me the intensity of the Hanged Man. We have the Death card. Very subtly done. You can see it with the Ghost, again, losing, or the Spirit of Death, you kind of lose the detail, but it works in this case because you get a little bit more of a spirit vibe to it. I love the little bits in the skull itself, is pretty awesome. So that, and especially face to face, he just looks more spirity. Although again, I do like the details. They're both gorgeous. Sorry folks. Here we have the Temperance card has changed. This I've seen before. I think this was in another of the versions, and it's beautiful. This is a beautiful card. This is a beautiful card. They're beautiful. I love this Devil card. I feel like there's two devils. Yes, so here you have a very, Garden of Eden's devil whispering in the ear of Eve. Beautiful, very garden. I adore this devil card, so no question for me which one is going to go in. And this is one in which you can, to me, maybe they haven't put gilding there. This is gorgeous. It's very subtle. You can still see all the detail. This is beautifully done. Beautifully done. Yeah, love it. I love this Tower card. I won't quote the whole poem. I think I might have done so in the original. I love this guy here in the lightning. It's just beautiful. It's slightly lighter, but it's just as intense and beautiful. The star. I like the lightning of the star here, because you do feel like that in starlight feel to it that's just gorgeous. So I really like that. I love this moon card. Definitely this highlight on the forehead is really gorgeous. I love the drapery of this fabric, and you do lose some of that. Again, there's no way around the fact that you're losing some detail. But, and I do like her hair a little bit darker, but again, it just feels like she's under moonlight in a really beautiful way. So they're both beautiful. Here we have the sun. I love that there's a strong woman on a horse as well as a cherub. And I love her light red hair. I love both cards, but this I don't feel like has really, when you're looking on them head on, I don't feel you've lost anything at all. And then this is gorgeous. I mean, this is gorgeous. And again, the details, but I actually like the sort of blindingly shining energy here. That's really gorgeous. But then, I love the detail. Yes, I know. I'm saying the same thing over and over. I'm not going to do it for the regular, but I am going to do it for the, this is beautiful. It's, it's a little bit lighter, but it works. It doesn't really change anything. So there we have the major, oh, there's a change. Look at that Ace of Wands. So that's the majors. I'm actually, you know, I'm really happy with these. They're absolutely beautiful. Yes, you can see some degree of loss of detail, but I think it's stunning. And if you didn't have an opportunity to get or have the original, I don't think you will be disappointed by this whatsoever. I mean, I find it hard pressed to think that you would. But there is definitely enough difference that it is lovely, and it's something I'm certainly going to be using. I'm going to go a little quicker because I think we're going to see the same thing, you know, with the majors or with the minors, just that, you know, cards are going to be lighter. The cards are going to, yes, lose a little bit of detail, but when you're looking at them straight on, it's still quite lovely, and it doesn't completely wash the image out. Unless I see something jump, we'll just assume that. We can see the Ace of Wands is actually different. I really love this Ace of Wands, but I really love this Ace of Wands as well, because you have that sense of, I don't know if it says, and I should have gotten the new guidebook, which has the images and things, you know, information about the images, because I'm guessing, yeah, it doesn't really talk anything about the image there in the little white book. You don't have anything about the image, but there's a goddess. I'm blanking on her name that I'm guessing this is. We have the Two of Wands. Different Three of Wands. I love this Three of Wands, but this is, you know, because you have that sort of Bacchus feel to it. But I do love this one as well. I like this because he's not just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for the things to come in, but he's still creating and still putting that energy out, even as he's waiting for energy to come back in. Love this. Five of Wands, Six of Wands, of course, very much that triumphant entry. This is really powerful. I actually quite like this a little bit light. They're both gorgeous. Love this card. I love this Eight of Wands. This is kind of sad, even though this is awesome. This works beautifully as the Nine of Wands. But I love his face. I also love the face, I think, in Bohemian Gothic. But look at his face. He's like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold this line. I don't know. There's all this battle going out. He's like concerned, but still holding the line. I love his face. Oops. Love her. I'm so glad they didn't change this one. This to me is one of the, it's indication of strength of this woman. She's got all of this on her back, and she's carrying her child. There is just a sense of, yes, this is hard work, and yes, I've got a lot on my back, but I've got this, and I am moving forward. I love this. It's one of my favorite Ten of Wands. We have the Page. I actually prefer this one, I think, although, no, see, that's the thing. When you look at, again, when you look at side, I know, see, it does wash, so I saw it kind of like this because I have a window open, and I thought, oh, that really loses this armor. But when, I hope that the video picks it up, but when you're looking at it like this, the armor is lighter, but you still see the detail. So it's just in how you have it. This is awesome armor though, but this works. It's just when it hits the light, it does kind of wash the detail out. Queen, King, absolutely gorgeous Ace of Swords. Love her hair. Actually really like her hair. Most of them I haven't really liked the change in hair as much as the original hair, but in this one I love, and the wings, it's just beautiful. This is one of my favorite Two of Swords, and she is I still, again, kind of like the darkness of this factor, but this is beautiful. I'm glad I have this, to be honest, but because this one in her hair, you do, I think, lose a little more detail than I would like to see lost. But it's just beautiful. One of my favorite Three of Swords. Because she can, there's a lot of things that you can do with this no matter how you read the Three of Swords. Again, I have a video up, so I'm not going to. 4. Probably one of my least favorite Five of Swords. However, You know, you have the disagreement, and you can almost say, look, these are the little clown children. So all of this disagreement with the mind, it doesn't mean anything. It's not of import. Like, take a step back and don't quit taking it so seriously. Beautiful. 7. I prefer this one. I love this 8 of Swords. It's also one of my favorites. Like, she looks like, you know, she's completely binding herself. She could get up if she wanted, although I think she's bound to the rock. You know, it's more the mythology of it all. I don't like her hair being blonde in this. It's not even that this one, her hair is not colored. They've just changed the color of her hair. And I prefer this one. It's just personal preference. And maybe this is more like the original. I'll have to look it up. This is gorgeous. I love the change here. Because she's okay, but she always kind of looked like she had a doll face, where this is just gorgeous. Gorgeous 9 of Swords. This is beautiful. I actually like this because it does, if you hit the light, kind of phase her face out a little bit. It's a wave. It's a water dryad, so that's okay. Page. Beautiful night. Different. Oh, I love this Queen of Swords. I mean, she's very strong, but look at her. Like, she looks capable. She is no nonsense. She is a capable woman. And she looks very strong as well. There's a strength there. And I love that there's still mountains in the background. So I do love her, but I really love her too. That's King of Swords. And that brings us to the cups. Ace of Cups. 2 of Cups. A different 3 of Cups. They definitely look much more merrymaking. These 3 kind of look a little bit like, you know, I do like, because we have the writer, we have the musician, we have the painter. I really like that aspect, but they don't look like they're having any fun in what they're doing. Whereas these certainly do look like they're having a good time, for sure. 4. Oh, I love her, but she's beautiful. She works very well as well. I love her so much, but I do love her as well. That's beautiful. This has changed too. I love these guys because their sense of remembering the summertime, even though that it's the winter time. But I mean, this works. It's fine, but I do really love this one. I didn't realize there were going to be so many differences. 7 of Cups. 8 of Cups. I love this 8 of Cups. 9 of Cups. 10, 11. This one, she looks really, I like the changes to her face. He should shine, and he does shine, and it's still kept a lot of the, not all of the detail, where you can literally see the field in his shining armor, which I love for the Knight of Cups. That's, you know, typical Knight of the Round Table, kind of chivalrous. He would be ultra shiny, so you can still see hints of it. It's just not as detailed, but love her. Queen of Cups. I actually like, you can see the detail more in her throne, which is nice. King of Cups. The Ace has changed. She's beautiful. I like this looks like Lady Fortuna, which I adore, the image, but this is more childlike, like an Ace, so it works. 2, 3, love it. 4. He has definitely lost some detail. This kind of makes a pretty big swath of just kind of yellow versus the detail here. I feel like they might have overkilled it there, but I love it in the crown. I love it in this back piece. I love it in the box. This to me is a little bit overdone, where you lose some of the detail. I love this. I love this 5 of Pentacles. This is really nice, actually. I mean, this is sweet and very Victorian looking. I feel like this looks less Victorian. This looks quite Victorian. But this is beautiful. And it looks like actually being helpful. I'm not convinced. Well, she's a little flower girl, so she probably could use the money too. This is beautiful, but I like, she's kind of a homely, not homely as in ugly, but the homely as in of the home and hearth. So I really kind of love the earthy feeling of this versus this does look very Victorian, pruning, but there's just something absolutely gorgeous about this homey person out in the woods, this herbal woman. So, you know, again, they both work, and this does look more Victorian, but I love this. Similar concept, just, you know, with somebody else watching on. Love her. She has got all the attitude. The 10. I kind of miss his blue there, but it's gorgeous. I like the brightening of this fur. It definitely looks that. I love this clock, though. With the page, but I like that there's still a door in each, because that always speaks to me of kind of time to get up and go walk through that door and learn some things. This is really beautiful. I do like the coloration of the original. Yeah, I have to say I by far like the coloration of this better, but it's still beautiful. This is one of my least favorites of the deck just because of her hair. I just feel like she has a wig on her hair, or somehow like it was fixed in Photoshop and didn't quite get fixed done rightly, but that could be the original image. But I do love her dress. You lose some details in her hands. This is just not one of my favorites anyways. And then the king I love. So there you have all of them, one and all. Definitely more changes than I was expecting there to be just in terms of images. Let me back it up here. I just want to show you real quick how it's just like butter, so bendable. If you're a riffle shuffler, this Russian edition is back of the beyond of gorgeousness. So I just want to do that real quick so I can feel the difference. I really do love this backing. I wish there was some of that gold on the back. That would have been nice in the little bits of gold there, but you know, that's just, oh yeah, it shuffles beautifully. I mean, it's an expensive deck. Let's be honest. This is an extremely expensive deck. It's you know, Baba Studios are definitely a collector's sort of dream decks. But this cardstock should be gorgeous, right? It should be. And it is. So beautiful. Let me move some things and then we'll lay it out. Okay, I just wanted to pull some out of the way so we could see. And you know what, let me compare this really quickly. I'm curious, for my reading space sake, how this compares. Okay, so it's a little bit shorter. I don't know if you can even see that because the color, maybe we need to, no we can't. It's a little bit shorter than the Pagan Otherworlds, but it's a little bit wider. But we're talking about just a hair, so it's quite similar to the Pagan Otherworlds. So I just wanted to lay it out really quick just so you could see it in a layout, which people often like to see. So I'm just going to lay it out really quickly so that you can see. And I know that it will fit on my table because I use the Pagan Otherworlds all the time. I just have to utilize all of the upper space and kind of adjust to there. So I try to use that up all the way. then it all fits just fine, even with this bottom card below. So you can see it's absolutely beautiful. And again, you know, this is one of those things that is an expensive deck. This is a collectible, although I use all of my decks. I will be using this and I will be shuffling this. This is I don't buy decks that I'm not going to use. And so it's just one of those things that I just always told myself if it ever came back in English, I love this deck so much. And I've gotten a lot of amazing readings out of it. And I had just told myself, I struggled with this. I'm going to tell you, this was a struggle for me because it's a lot of money for a deck. But this is my job and this is my passion. And so the melding of those two things, for me, it was well worth it. And some things, the quality doesn't equal the price in life, whereas at least with the Baba Studios, you can argue all you want, fairly argue whether something is worth a price or not worth a price, and that's individual. That's extremely individual. What I would be willing to pay for a deck and what somebody else might be willing to pay for a deck can be extremely different things, right? We each have our own criterias on where we are. We have different positions of where we are. I don't have children that I am responsible for. I have myself that I'm responsible for, and that's it. I don't even, you know, and so I can make a decision on how to use my expendable income. And for me, at least I feel as if with this that I have my money's worth out of it, even though it's not something I would go around every day purchasing. This deck, I would have to be something I really love, and this is something I really love. So I hope that this helps you to just see the differences between the two. I know there are some people concerned about the flattening of the image, so I wanted to make sure you could see that really well. And again, just to be clear, you can read just as easily with a $15 deck as you can with an $86 deck. It's just beautiful, beautiful aesthetics and choices. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this and have an absolutely wonderful day.